They also provide the Senior Health Insurance Information Program, which is also known as SHIP. They provide the opportunity to meet with one of our Medicare specialists to help them navigate through the enrollment and provide education on Medicare. Our Homeless Outreach Program, they assist older adults navigating senior housing and to avoid homelessness. We also have our Active Aging Program, and that's where we have our 16 senior recreation centers that are located throughout Salt Lake County. Their focus is to encourage staying active, healthy, and promote independence as they age in place. With our health promotion, they focus on the evidence-based programming while having fun. Over the last year, they were able to maintain the nutrition program by offering an effective drive-through meal program. We'll relay some more information on that in just a little bit. But they also developed a robust virtual senior center to maintain the values of independence and the social connection during the pandemic.
So next we have the Community Engagement Program. Our Community Engagement Program team provides information, advocacy, and volunteering to our community. The Ombudsman communicate and advocate for individuals residing in long-term facilities, care facilities. Also, we have the Outreach Program that provides frontline support by providing information about aging and services to assist and connect with individuals with services that fits their needs, whether it's internal services with the county, or if we can offer an external resource to them. The volunteer programs are great opportunities, have ample and diverse opportunities for our volunteers, anywhere from the senior centers to homebound seniors. And we're also encouraging people that are on here, if you do like to volunteer, get a hold of us. So it's a great opportunity. So our Meals on Wheels program provides meals to senior centers and independent aging, and we provide meals to the senior centers. We provide meals to homebound seniors. The congregate deliver not only the meals to the senior centers, but also our volunteer bags. The Meals on Wheels team delivers to our homebound seniors, as well as it's more than a meal, right? So they take care of our clients that are homebound and make sure that they're okay at the same time. We also have our Rides for Wellness program, which is great. They provide critical medical rides, essential rides for our clients to their appointments. So on the topic, emergency preparedness, managing an emergency whether you like it or not. Our topic will focus on the preparedness, how our program managed in an emergency. We will share the challenges and opportunities we encouraged during the various pandemic. We're going to focus more on our program, the Independent Aging Program, and what we did during the pandemic or emergency.
So whether it be a pandemic or weather, we need to understand how to manage our programs in emergencies. So it's critical that we maintained essential services to those that depended on it the most in our community. This meant that during our presentation, you will relate to our similar situations, and we encourage you to share your success at the end of this presentation, along with any questions you might have for us. We must all strive to better our programs as we move beyond this pandemic and into a recovery for our entire community.
So let's get to our timeline. We'll focus on the various pandemic emergency phases and the challenges we experienced specifically on the programs, like I said, provided by Independent Aging. So that would be Meals on Wheels, Congregate, Rides for Wellness, which is our non-emergency medical transportation. We'll focus on these three and successfully navigate through this. So there's three things that we're going to focus on during this time, which is going to be decision making. We had to make, all right. Oh, sorry, we lost our slides. So can you guys still hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see your slideshow and I can hear you.
Great.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so we lost it on our screen here, so we're gonna keep going. So decision makings, we had to make big decisions that affected not only our clients, but our team, drivers, and the office staff. So that's one part to this, okay? Also communication. We had to, with the abundance of information coming in, it's critical that our communication reflected our decisions. And with that, we also had to make sure we had the right skill sets involved. Recognizing potential and the need to shift employees based on areas of skill and strength. So making sure that we had the right people in the right spot during this time. So using all three of those, decision-making, skills, and communication was what we focused on to get through the emergencies and the pandemic and things that we're going to discuss. Okay, so first we're going to talk about congregate, the meals going out to the senior centers. So we had to, at the beginning of the pandemic, as many of you might have heard through other conferences, today is the senior centers closed, right? Senior centers shut down. Well, active aging was great about making decisions and moving forward, but we had to make sure that we still got food out to our seniors that were going to the senior centers. So it changed the way we delivered, right? So first and foremost, we delivered bulk style to all the senior centers. We obviously could not do that anymore. So we changed that. What we did is we moved to a tray like the Meals on Wheels skit. So again, it went back to the communication. Not only did we work with active aging on how we were going to get these meals out, and they started the drive-through program, which is awesome. We also had to communicate with our vendors and make sure that they were able to get this done, which they were, which was fantastic at the time, and making sure we got those meals out. But it changed how we delivered. We delivered it, different like coolers and things like that instead of the Cambros that we typically use. And also during this time, with the senior centers closing and other businesses closing that we would do our Meals on Wheels drop-offs to for the volunteers, we had to pivot there as well and communicate and figure out where we're going to have these new drop-offs, which did affect the congregate program because we're the ones that are dropping off those different bags for the volunteers. So one of the things I did want to mention during that time also is we thought we were going to have a big drop off for the volunteers, but we actually didn't have that much of a drop off of volunteers during this time. We had volunteers calling our volunteer coordinators, asking how they could help, what they could do, which was fantastic. So it was great to see the community come together. It was great to see the volunteers willing and wanting to help during this time as well. So that was a great experience while dealing with the congregate issues and moving things around. The volunteers were on board to do whatever they needed to do.
So we also experienced some extreme weather obstacles. So sorry about that. I got a little happy on the trigger. So with the weather that we experienced, in our program, the one thing that we knew was that the decisions that we made had to be communicated. So it was clear that communication to our employees was vital during these emergencies, and we always needed to focus on the safety. So to avoid putting our drivers and clients at risk, we needed to implement a plan, and we needed to communicate that plan efficiently. So with the earthquake and weather related, whether it be a snowstorm or a windstorm, when it comes to our rides, those get reduced to just life-sustaining appointments like dialysis and your cancer treatments. When it came to the meals being delivered to our homebound seniors, we had to focus on the high-risk clients, which is determined by using a list based on risk factors. We update this list as clients are enrolled into the program, and we review it at least once a month. For our other clients, they're asked to consume their shelf-stable meal. This is what we call as a pre-packaged meal that gets delivered to them throughout the year. They know that this is to be used in the event that we're not able to deliver them a meal. And then in the event of like the earthquake where our centers had to shut down, we had a lot of food that was ready to go out, and we were able to donate that to one of our local community partners, which again is why it's so vital to have those good relationships within your community.
Okay, so moving on, CR England. Within 2 weeks of the shutdown, we prepared 4,000 meals that went into the CR England trailer. So to give you a little background on that, the mayor's office, specifically Megan Hilliard, worked with CR England, and they donated 2 53-foot trailers to us to store meals in case our kitchen was shut down. Through trial and error, we learned that we actually only needed one of those. But it was great, again, working with your community partners. And CR England didn't want anything out of it. They just wanted to be a part of the solution, which was fantastic. So we filled that trailer. We have filled that trailer up actually twice with 20,000 meals. We got through the meals once and we filled it up again, which is fantastic. But really, it's being prepared for the shutdown of the kitchen. We knew if we could fill this trailer and if the kitchen shut down, we'd be able to maintain meals not only to the congregate sites, but also for Meals on Wheels for at least 2 weeks, right? Which was fantastic. Some of the lessons we learned, loading, unloading, fueling, monitoring, those are all things that we had to learn on the fly. And we go back to what we talked about earlier, which is a communication, decision-making. We learned a lot just by trial and error and making sure that we loaded it properly so we could get meals out and the rotation worked. And one of the programs that we got out of this was a weekend meal that we did for the senior centers, which was fantastic. It worked through the rotation of the meals. And it also, during especially the first kind of phases of the pandemic of everybody staying home, it allowed our seniors that were out at the senior centers to get an extra meal, knowing that they probably wouldn't be going to the grocery store or anything like that. So it really did help out a lot. We learned a lot of lessons on how with the food storage. And one of the things that you should be really concentrating on in your own program is, do you have a way to store food in case something like this happens, in case your kitchen goes down, in case you can't get meals out? That's one of the things that you should really be looking at. And then the communication with dealing with the food storage. Like I said, Megan Hilliard working with CR England, us working with CR England, us working with Fleet to make sure it was fueled all the time. And then also we had to work with the sheriff's department as well, making sure that they monitored our trailer when we weren't around. So again, it goes back to communication in these events. You got to make sure that you're communicating with everybody during this time, and being safe and flexible. And yeah, so, and then on to protocols.
So with the protocols that we had to start making, we had to make critical decisions that were based on CDC recommendations, health department recommendations, and that meant a lot of communication with our staff. So this was challenging for everyone, as we all know, but we had to get through it. And so a plan was made to allow our staff in the office to start working from home, but we had to make sure there wasn't a disruption in our services. It was clear that this was a learning curve for all of us. As we know, we still continue to have issues with technology, but we get through it. And then there were mandates that were put in place with wearing a mask and the limited interactions in groups. We had to perform meetings through WebEx and conferences through WebEx. But we all have that experience and can move forward on that. But it was critical that we all did our part, and we continue to do our part to limit the interaction in order to reduce the potential of spread. So again, communication is key to getting our team together and making sure that those protocols are followed, because they change by hour and by day.
So moving on to Meals on Wheels. So we had to put in the safety guidelines, PPE for the drivers, volunteer workforce, We also, the growth we had to look at as well. During the pandemic, we grew 17% for our deliveries, which put us about 1,500 meals a day going out for Meals on Wheels, and about 1,000 a day going out for Congregate. So we actually saw growth within the program at that point. So the communication, again, was critical to ensure safety measures were followed. Drivers and volunteers were given proper guidelines and communication, as well as the PPE, to the personal protection equipment. We also made about 11,500 kits of PPE that went out, not only to our staff, but to our volunteers. So that was another feat that was absolutely amazing during this time. So far, what we've talked about during this session is the internal communication that we had, but we have to not forget about the external communication. So we were changing how we were going to deliver, right? So the delivery protocol is that we changed it to was we had t-shirt bags, or, you know, I didn't know what a t-shirt bag is, but it's a grocery bag that you get from like Smith's, right? So you get the t-shirt bag, and our drivers and our volunteers would go out and they put the individual meal into the t-shirt bag with their drink and any sides they had. And they would go to the door, they'd hang it on the door and knock, announce himself, and back away 6 to 10 feet away from the door. And then we would wait until the client got the meal. And that it didn't end there. We still had our communication with our clients, right? Because Meals on Wheels is more than a meal. We're out checking on our clients, talking with them. A lot of the times we're the only ones that they interact with during the day. So before COVID and before everything changed, we had, we were able to sit and just chat with them. That never stopped. It was just from a different distance at that point, right? But how we delivered changed. So we had to make sure we had external communication as well. And so what we did is we sent a letter out to all of our Meals on Wheels clients explaining the new protocols of what it was going to be like for them to receive their meal. Some of the things that happened was some of our clients put out little tables outside of their doors so we could just set it on the table until they could, and then we'd answer the door and get it, or they put little hooks on the outside of their doors to make it easier for the Meals on Wheels drivers. So again, the communication, not only internally, but externally, helped with the delivery and the influx of more Meals on Wheels that we did have.
So some of the things that we noticed about the Rides for Wellness, which again is the non-emergency medical transportation that we provide, we had to really ensure that our drivers and our clients were safe and that they felt comfortable. So we implemented some of the following safety protocols in the beginning of COVID. We had to focus on the social distancing. So our clients were asked to sit in the back seat only. Before that, we had always allowed people to sit in the front seat. We had to suspend all of our double rides with the exception of it being within the same household. Our vehicles were equipped with plexiglass so that the front and the back seats were divided. We had the mask mandate, and so all of our drivers and our clients were asked to wear masks. What was great was we had a huge influx of donations of masks from the community. This allowed us to make sure that we weren't short masks when they were needed. We made sure that the clients had them if they didn't have one with them. We also had to equip our drivers with their personal protective equipment, gloves and hand sanitizer. This was really important to ensure that they felt safe. I mean, they were on the front line. They were the ones in the vehicle. They were one-on-one contact with these clients. And they needed to trust that we were there to support them and that they would follow our leadership. Cleaning of the vehicles, this was something that was mandatory and happened between every ride. So during the different pandemic phases, as things changed, we've modified, but life-sustaining rides was really the focus in the beginning. This was really, really important, and we really had to focus on what the CDC recommendations were, what the health department recommendations were, and we relied on a team effort from our administration. being exposed in a medical ride was something that was bound to happen. And so we had to make sure that we had access to rapid tests for our drivers if they were exposed. I will tell you, a year after, the protocols worked because we didn't have one driver contract COVID during the whole year. And so that's how we know that what we do and what they were doing was working by that evidence.
Okay, staying connected, wellness calls, client receiving meals while under quarantine. So to keep active communication with our clients, we initiated the wellness call program where clients were contacted daily or weekly. During the conversation, things that came up were that they were lacking some items at their house, right? So we came up with some care packages. And the care packages were comprised of like toilet paper, other toiletries, and things that they needed at their home. So that program came out of these wellness calls, which was fantastic. Also, we had what we called quarantine packs or Q packs. I actually liked the COVID pack or C pack, as I called it, but I got overruled. So we went with the quarantine pack. And what these were we took the meals that were out of the trailer that we got from CR England, and we made up these quarantine packs of 7 to 14 meals that we would send out to the clients, the Meals on Wheels clients that self-disclose that, hey, I have COVID, or somebody in my household has COVID, or I got exposed, or I may have been exposed. And so we would take these quarantine packs out to them, and they would use those meals that were in that 7 to 14 day quarantine pack until they were out of quarantine. And then we would put them back onto their regular route. So that was another great example of something that we came up with, made a decision on, communicated, and had the right people delivering those and getting those ready. So we provided nearly 500 meals so far for the Q packs. And it was based on making sure that the driver safety, the client safety was always first and foremost.
When it came to our administrative planning meetings, right from the start, our administrative team went to action. We met in the beginning every day, and as we've gone through the phases, we've adjusted that. We knew early on it would be essential for our programs to meet regularly and communicate. It played a huge part in sharing and receiving the information between our sections. Managing through a pandemic is challenging, and we really had to rely on the support to ensure recovery. Eventually, we found out that it's going to be difficult returning back to a new normal. But as we move forward and we focus on the needs of the community, we will embrace the challenges and opportunities that await us.
So during this time, we also found out that, well, we didn't have, we had staff that were working from home and other challenges that we didn't foresee. And so we had a redeployment program that popped up for this, which was fantastic. We had people, not only internal staff that came from the different programs, different sections to help out in independent aging, but also we had some staff members from other programs like arts and culture that came over, which was also just great because they were able to come in, see what we did, and really was excited. They were excited about what we were doing and wanted to be a part of the team. We not only that, we had a hiring freeze, right? So the redeployment plan was huge for us during this time. And so what we did was we expedited the training, but we made sure it was safety first. Not only did we get them trained on, let's say, just Meals on Wheels, but we also trained them on Rides for Wellness or Congregate, so we could plug them in different parts of our program to help out during this time. And so we really came up with a great way to train quickly and efficiently, but also safely. It was hands-on, making sure that they were ready to go, and then we sent them out to help us. So making sure they had the skill set, like we said before, communicating and the skill set, so they're able to go out and help the team, and more importantly, help the clients that we have. So the cross training was very important to make sure it wasn't just one program that they knew, but they were able to plug in all three of them. And so, yeah, it's a great program. If you do not have something like this, a redeployment program or plan at where, at your agency, make sure you should look into that. It really helped us a lot. And also is very gratifying to work with other people, and they enjoyed their time here, and we got to know more about what they were doing too. So it was a great program that popped up from this.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the vaccination clinics that we had in the beginning of the year. This was a great example for where our decisions, our communication, and our skills combined to carry out the successful vaccination clinic, where we were able to get most of our most vulnerable clients access to the vaccination. We focused on the older adults that would have the most difficult time navigating the process. And then we had the opportunity of collaborating with the health department. Each program or each section within Aging Adult Services participated based on their skills, from assessing priority clients, the logistics of the facilities and transportation, while ensuring an efficient and organized event, again, going back to the communication. The transportation needs, we knew this was going to be a big challenge and an amazing opportunity. So we had to evaluate what our capacity would be, meaning how many drivers we were going to need versus how many vehicles we had available and how many rides we thought we could provide. We knew that we had to utilize our redeployment plan. We had senior center managers and their staff that assisted us with getting in and driving. They had to go through a crash course of learning how to use the app-based program that we used for Manifest on rides. But once our plan was in place and we moved forward, we learned so much from that first clinic that we discovered very quickly what was working and what didn't, and how to implement the new protocols to where the clients were being dropped off and where they were being picked up. After all it was said and done, we provided just over 1,800 rides to our vaccine clinics, while still providing nearly 3,700 rides to our medical, with our medical rides just on those dates. For me, this was a big win for the team. It showed their strength in the communication and attention to detail. So one of the things that I found most that I was grateful for during this time was we got a lot of feedback from our clients, how appreciative they were. We actually have a recording that I'd like to share with you from one of our clients.
Help with older people out with. Oh, I'm so grateful for you and for what you're doing for me. My name Meals on Wheels took me to a doctor's appointment this morning and picked me up right on time. And I am so appreciative of the service that Salt Lake County is giving so many of us. And my call is just to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that's just one of many phone calls, messages we get about the work we do, right? I also love that she went to an appointment and thanked Meals on Wheels, which is fantastic. So with that, the vaccine clinics was a perfect example of managing in a pandemic by bringing all four of the sections together and accomplishing the goal. The community engagement, setting up all the logistics with the health department, also making not 1,100, but 11,000 calls during the vaccine clinics to make sure that we got people to the vaccine clinics. Also independent aging, the logistics of the transportation, making sure if they didn't have a ride to the vaccine clinic that we were able to help provide that. Active aging, setting up all the clinics at the senior centers, which was huge, so we had a place to get this done. And the community care CCTP, also they did in-home vaccines as well. That's amazing. So just everybody coming together, all four of the the sections and accomplishing this goal for the vaccine clinics. Again, it goes back to making sure we get the right people and the skill sets they need, communication, and making those right decisions to make these projects go through. I had an opportunity to, during the vaccine clinics, walk with a gentleman that he took about 10 minutes to get from his car to the doors to get his vaccine, and then from the doors back to his car about 10 minutes. And during that time, I just got to talk with him. I asked him if he needed any assistance. He's like, nope, I just want to walk and talk. And so we were able to just have a conversation, and it really brought me back to how much not only the internal communication of what we're doing is and what we did during the pandemic and managing during a pandemic, but also how much it means to our clients, and just that communication was fantastic. And I had a great opportunity. He came back for the second vaccine. He knew who I was. As soon as I saw him in the parking lot, I went out and chatted with him again. So it does mean a lot. Communication means a lot, not only during managing during the pandemic, but also to our clients.
So as we come to an end, we hope that you can take away how important communication is in successfully managing your own program through any emergency or challenge. The critical decisions you make impacts the ability to sustain the growth that you will receive. Finally, relying on the strengths and the skills of our teams. And just remember, focus on the safety, keep it simple. Accurate communication can help you avoid any gaps of confusion. And celebrate your wins, acknowledge your staff. We're all in this together.
So we appreciate your guys' time. We appreciate you being a part of our this part of the conference and what we did. And if you guys have any questions, we'd love to hear them, or any success stories that you had at your guys' programs, or anything that you'd like to share.
Thank you so much. What a great presentation, you guys. A lot of planning and communication went into the Aging Services Emergency Program, and we really appreciate your information today. To get the questions started, what challenges did independent aging face during the earthquake March 18th of last year?
That's a great question, Sherry. So the challenges we had, it went back to the communication. And when we got here, I actually was on I-15 when it happened. It was crazy. When I got here, I saw our director, Paul Leggett. We got together with some of the other admin team, making sure that all of our staff were outside, making sure that the vendors were outside from the kitchen. And then we went into action and started making a plan. One of the challenges we had was, okay, where's the food going to go? What rides are we going to take care of, if any? And who's going to get a meal? So really, those are the three things. But what we do is keep it simple. We don't over analyze anything. We stick to the facts. We stick to what we need to get done during that time, and we have great leadership. And so we got the meals to another program that day. We were able to contact the Meals on Wheels clients that we needed to get meals to, and we communicated to all the Rights for Wellness, which wasn't too difficult because our cancel line was bombarded by people canceling their medical appointment that day. But that also means that we had to get more people up here to make the calls back to our clients. So those were some of the challenges, but also for us, it's just making sure that we keep it simple and we just get to the job done.
Thank you, Preston. So if anybody has any questions, please type them in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to get those answered. So Melinda, here's a question for you.
Okay.
What kind of appointments does the Rides for Wellness program take seniors on?
Yeah, so that's a good question because you kind of think, is it an ambulatory, is it an ambulance kind of service? We focus on the non-emergency medical transportation. So if they have their appointments for their annual visit with their physician, if they need to go to their eye doctor, if they need any of their essentials, so that's your dialysis, which they go 3 times a week, and those are the rides that we don't drop in emergencies because that's life saving for them. We focus on the cancer treatments and chemo. We do the mental health appointments, and so it's pretty much all your basic medical appointments with a physician or a physical therapist.
Would that include prescription pickup at a pharmacy?
So we don't include a separate drop off for the pharmacy. So if they are calling just to schedule a pickup of their prescriptions, we would not do a ride just for that. But we do include if they are going to the pharmacy on their way home, we can drop them off at the pharmacy. But then, they would need to find another form of transportation from there. And the reason for that is we give so many rides. We're actually at capacity with our rides program. What we've seen over the last few months since the vaccinations have become available is people are now getting back to going to those appointments they weren't going to over the last year. And with the loss of some of our drivers, we just have to make that critical decision on making sure that the essential appointments are our priority first. And then hopefully in the future, we'll be able to kind of open up that a little bit more.
Thanks, Melinda. There's a question in the chat. It says, how did you manage staff morale during this?
Ooh, great question. So one thing that we came together as an administration upstairs in independent aging is we always came in positive. We always came in. We always went down and was a part of the action, right? We were helping loading trucks. We were loading the big trailer, the 53-foot trailer. But what it really came down to was keeping a positive attitude and keeping the negative out of the office, out of the suite, out of the communication we had. Also, part of that was keeping the drivers specifically, because they're the front line, they were out on the road. They were up to date on everything we were doing as soon as we got the information. So we had little huddle, we call them huddles, and we would get together and we tell them what was going on, what any changes were happening with the CDC, any changes with delivery, and making sure that we had open communication with them all the time. And that we also did like a driver appreciation at one point, and had a hot dogs and everything outside, socially distanced. But we did all those things, and again, just acknowledging what the drivers were doing on a continuous basis, and also the office staff that were coming in, and keeping some of the office staff actually were redeployed to home, right? Like the dispatch team was able to work from home and get those things done, but it's that communication with them as well, and that making sure that they were up to date on everything that was happening. But we came together as an admin team and made sure we kept everything positive, and that we were the example, and that we were going to make sure we got this done. And it really comes back to the why, and everybody up here knows the why is to make sure that every single client that we have gets their meal, gets their ride. The meals get out to the centers for the participants out there. And if you keep to your why, and you keep to what one thing that you're doing, it helps with morale.
Great. I have another story about that. Our the case managers here at Salt Lake County, we got a huge donation of candy, and our case managers weren't allowed to go in our clients' homes, but they delivered candy to a lot of their clients. There was even some sugar-free candy. And it was great for the clients, and it was great for the case managers' morale to see their clients and see, you know, they're still getting their Meals on Wheels, they're still getting their services, and they're getting a little treat with a candy. That was a great thing.
Awesome.
So, thanks.
Yeah.
Sherry, can you see the other questions over there?
Yes, I can. We have
Okay.
5 minutes left.
Oh,
So we do have a question that somebody has sent. Do you think elder mistreatment became more invisible during the pandemic?
That's again, a great question. I think that that could have, that absolutely could have happened. I mean, the focus shifts, right, during a pandemic. The focus shifts on, just for us anyway, was getting the meal to the person. I believe that our drivers still checked on our clients. That was part of what we talked about with our drivers, was make sure you make contact. You ask them how they're doing. And in fact, I think that was even more crucial during this time as well, and continuing, because we haven't changed our policy and procedures. We're still hanging the bag and things like that. So for us, I guess I'm thinking about it in a different way. I think we probably check on them a little bit more right now, to be honest, because of the procedures we have in place, and the drivers we have. They're asking them, "Hey, are you doing okay? What's going on?" But that's for us. I think that when you have a pandemic and things shift to what has to get done, things like the elder abuse, might, that's something that we might want to look at closer and bring back up to the forefront. Did you have something like?
Yeah, I know I had a couple of my office staff that were, when they were working from home, they participated on the wellness call program. And because of our transportation program, they were assigned clients that were enrolled in transportation. And so they kind of already had a history with these clients. And what would happen is they would call them on a weekly basis. And that really made the clients feel safer. And in the beginning, it was kind of, a lot of the calls were shorter. It was just more of a check-in. But over time, they really were able to build a trust with the clients. And there were a couple times where we had clients open up to our employees, letting them know some of the fears that they were having when it came to elder abuse. And we had to follow the protocols of, turning that in. But I think if it weren't for I think if you were to ask all of our employees that participated with making those calls, including volunteers that made a lot of calls too, and we're still doing those calls, that I think that really opened up a door for people to communicate and open up about their feelings for that. I know with a few clients that I've witnessed that has happened.
great. Well, that concludes our session today. Thank you, Melinda and Preston, for your fantastic presentation. Actually, that concludes our first virtual Elder Justice Conference, and hopefully our last. So thank you for attending. If you need CEUs, there will be an email, it maybe already came out, to get those. And thank you very much. Thanks for attending, and thanks you guys.
Thanks, Leanne. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, everybody.